So I'm here today with Holly Tucker. Holly, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to be here, Nick.
Lovely to be with you. So listen, I suppose I have to ask, I try not to be in the moment when I'm chatting to our speakers, but how is the environment, the business environment out there? How is it for entrepreneurs setting up small businesses? Do you feel positive? Is it still a good time to be going out there and trying new stuff?
I'm notoriously optimistic, Nick, as you know. So I'm always going to say yes. If I think back to when I started in 2005, this is before the
Mm,
smartphone. Amazon was still selling books. That takes you back to when I started building Not on the High Street.
yes.
There was just no tools out there whatsoever. I remember my bank manager didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant, and that's no joke. So I think that the landscape has completely and utterly changed. And now you have really a perfect environment, I would say, in a sense of all the awareness, the communities, the skills that are required, and people really just empathizing with what it takes to start a business. Now, of
Mm,
course, you bring in the financial climate, we bring in all the issues that small businesses I know are facing, Brexit and cost of living and all of these sorts of things. But quite frankly, I've built two businesses in two recessions, and here we go again. It's ultimately entrepreneurs need to, this is where they show what they're worth, what they're
right.
made of, and I think that actually harsh environments can sometimes bring the best out of you as a founder and the business, so to speak. So I'm always optimistic. My book is Do What You Love, Love What You Do. I'm about seizing the day. And so absolutely, I'd say for anyone's, that wants to start, they have to start.
But from your perspective, in your vast experience of dealing with loads of different kind of small businesses and people and entrepreneurs, are there traits you look for people kind of that turn around and say, kind of they've got the resilience or whatever words we might use in order that they're going to achieve, or do you genuinely believe that anyone can just get up and do it if they find their passion?
Well, it's two different things. When I talk to young people, I
Mm,
do believe that actually, and parents, I talk about the fact that gone are the days where you were born an entrepreneur, because I think in the future we're all going to have to be our own brands, and it's what's missing out of the education system, and that sense of entrepreneurism, not business. My son's doing business A levels at the moment, so it's actually a sort of different mindset that I don't think they're getting taught. But at the same time, when I look at who I know has been successful, I've been running my podcast for 5 years. It's a
mm,
successful podcast, 160 amazing founders who have incredible brands. Yeah, there are some, what I call them golden threads. There are some golden threads through these people, and I would say it is a loyalty to an idea. I think there's a sense of paternal and maternal love towards an idea, and that you would literally lift a car if your business was damaged. And there's something within us that we will strive forward, whatever. But I also think that there is creativity, and ultimately that they hold creativity as one of their most important values or skill sets within the company. Because I think a lot of what I've seen in businesses that are floundering or suffering is where
mm.
creativity has just been left to the bottom of the to-do list, or it's a department, and it's not actually a value system that's going through thinking outside. Ultimately entrepreneurs are creative because we
Mm.
think outside the box. The word no doesn't even compute. It's actually how we get the best out of ourselves. So I think that there's so many golden threads. I mean, the list goes on, but those
Mm.
are the couple that just sort of spring to mind at the moment.
Listen, I love that. I think kind of it's something you forget. You forget when you're bogged down in the moment of trying to build your business about
Yeah.
actually
I mean,
getting on.
ultimately, creativity is what is the sort of pollen to a bee, isn't it? It's what makes consumers excited about your brand. It brings you consumers. You don't have to spend so much on marketing. All of these sorts of things. And when I see people sort of almost being cookie cutters of themselves, and it's sort of, that's where I know that there is an issue. But when I see the brands that I respect are the founders who are really blowing my mind when it comes to actually where they see the vision of their company. And it all comes down to that creative confidence.
Can I move us on, Elizabeth, and ask you about kind of, you're a very successful woman business owner who's achieved a lot. How, and kind of been amazingly successful, and it's a flag bearer if we can use it. But how are we doing in the workplace? How are we doing in terms of equality in the workplace for those senior positions for women? And is there more stuff that needs to be done, or are we just looking at kind of it's happening, but it's going to take time?
Nothing changes overnight, and I am really hopeful. I am hopeful because I think that there is, I thought during COVID, the changes that we saw in terms of flexible working and actually, some of the issues that we've seen with women rising into senior positions, et cetera, it's not because they don't want to, it's because actually there are some practicalities about women's lives. And it's still, ultimately, the chief caregiver, whether it's for their elderly parents or children, they are actually trying to, I call it the triple shift for women. So it's actually the first generation that is doing a full-time job. It's absolutely a bringing income into the household. You've got the chief carer, and you've got those running the family. And you've ultimately got this situation where it is incredibly tough to make that work. So I think things such as flexible working and we're watching the statistics and we're watching how it is working is an incredible help to try and balance life out, so to speak. But I also just think that what I'm seeing in workplaces is that also a sense of when we're now caring more about the environment, we're starting to care more about our mental health, we're starting to bring in community, we're starting to look at entrepreneurial spirit and teams within teams and goals and visions outside of almost the day job, or looking at that cultural shift within organizations. I think it's very, very exciting. I think it's feels feminine. That's not to say men can't do that, but it just feels like a femininity that's coming through that I'm very, very excited about.
And do you believe that's happening because of kind of a bottom-up approach, or do you think it's because like the top level of businesses are realizing they need to change, they need to adapt, and actually we are in a new world?
Yeah, I think it's meeting in the middle. I think there's from both sides. I think you've got those coming to work for organizations wanting more. That it's gone are these days where it is just a job. I mean, you really feels, I know from my own experience, the way I'm building a company is because my team want to help small businesses thrive. They want to help the backbone of our economy. They want to help people live a better life. They believe in empowering women to start businesses at the rate of men. So actually that team comes every single day to work, hopefully for me, but actually much more for the organization Holly & Co. And then I think for myself as a leader, I'm understanding that actually business is more powerful than government. And so why we're a B Corp, for instance, why ESG is so important. I hope Holly & Co. will become a beacon for ESG. And it's, so actually for myself as a leader, I'm starting to get my own priorities, my priorities straight, but also the company's targets straight in the change I want to make in society, as much as my ambitious targets within the organization on a normal level, but actually what changes can we make? And I ultimately think the smart moves here is that the more that we can do all of this, the more we're going to basically be amplifying our business, what we're doing, our services and our offering, all by the fact that we're a deeper brand than just a face level. And actually, if you scratch the surface of our company, we actually walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Yeah. So it fascinates me. One of the things that fascinates me is kind of, we have a media that spend their time trying to kind of make everything kind of one way or another. And in my head, I'm thinking about the hybrid working, what that means in terms of it's employees against employers, about where they're going. What's your view as a very successful business person who's kind of running a new kind of Holly & Co, which is doing amazingly well, is how do you view the media, and how helpful are they to businesses, or is
I
it
just
something that?
I can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it. I'm so appalled by the fact that we are, you know, I speak about myself, you know, I'm a busy woman and I'm trying to
Mm,
literally change the world, change society, change industry, change things that matter. And all I can see is that we are absolutely led by media who has only clickbait really as the sort of number one sort of news agenda.
mm,
I believe that actually we're being pushed to be polarized in all opinions.
right.
I think totally and utterly the best businesses are those that understand it's not black and white, it's
Mm,
only grey. That's all it is. And it's about the culture and our values meeting to be able to navigate that grey and find a common ground that we're happy. So I don't think that, you know, intelligence lives in the grey, doesn't it? You know,
yeah.
it's quite easy to be sit on either end. It's quite easy to use social media in those ways, cancelling, all these sorts of things. You cancel someone because you basically can't argue, you know, and there is free speech, and that's what makes our, you know, world's country amazing. So
Mm,
I actually think that the media right now is in no way servicing anybody, because it's really servicing itself. And so I pay little attention actually to it. You know, I think one of my, you know, certainly when I speak to these incredible entrepreneurs in my podcast, it's all
yeah.
about focusing in on the focus, staying in your lane. You know, comparison is the thief of joy. It's about actually, you know, achieving, not just
Mm.
talking about it, but moving the dial. And that takes real commitment and focusing in on the achieve, you know, what you want to achieve.
Holly, on that note, I think that's a perfect place. So thank you so much for your time.
It's been lovely.
Been lovely chatting. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.